Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope everyone is doing well out there this morning and waking up and feeling fantastic. Had a great week out there so far. It's been a wild last couple of days trying to break down the storm system that's ongoing right now in the northeast portions of the mid-Atlantic. And yeah, it's been a big headache. And I'm not even going to lie. I'll be happy when it's on out of here and we don't have to talk about it anymore. It's been a big challenge. I like a challenge, but this has been a different kind of challenge where the models just completely failed us. And a lot of people will say, well, why do you look at the models so much? Well, it's kind of the only thing we have to look at. And of course, we can compare it when the storm gets closer to real-time observations. But sometimes you just don't know what it's going to do 12 hours out in front of the storm. And really what happened with this, if you're wondering, this energy just trended weaker. It trended weaker and just further south, because the further south, the further weaker it trended, the more south it's probably going to go, more west to east. A more stronger system is going to always try to gain more of a northern element to it. It's going to try to move further north. It's just like the tropics, guys. When you have a stronger hurricane, it's always going to fight to move further north rather than west or east. So it's the same thing with the winter, guys. And when it trended weaker, it trended further south because it started to want to go more west to east rather than sort of southwest to northeast, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of what happened, but this is ongoing right now. We're gonna get you guys some details on this, but this is, like I said, ongoing right now. There's no point of really getting extremely detailed on the snowfall forecast because, this is a nowcasting thing. This is falling right now. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. And let's get rocking and rolling. So there's a system. Ongoing snowstorm in areas of like New York City, Long Island, areas of southern New England. It's probably starting to snow in Boston now. Snowing pretty good in eastern PA, northern New Jersey. And you're probably going to get a band of heavy snow that potentially moves into Baltimore and DC, even into Philadelphia. It might be snowing in Philadelphia right now. Last time I checked in Philadelphia, it was still kind of raining, sleet mix, but here in the next hour or two, it'll probably be snowing and probably snow pretty heavily for about 1 to 3 hours. So it's a very dynamic system, very compact system, which typically when a system is very dynamic, the snow portion of it is very compact. So outside of this, we do have northern stream energy just flying around, pockets of snow, lower elevation and just warmer kind of rain, if that makes sense, where it's just warmer. And the common theme over the next few days throughout the work week is we're going to have a lot of northern stream energy that sort of flies down, maybe 1 to 2 systems, provide some light to moderate snowfall accumulations throughout this area right up here in the northern portion of the country. And we're going to speak on that in this video a little bit for you folks. So the Storm Prediction Center, really the only thing that we'll speak on, honestly, is the fact that we could have some thunder snow up here, and there might be some ongoing right now, but we could definitely have some thunder snow today, and even New York City, southern New England, these areas could certainly have that dynamic factor with it where we get a flash of lightning, a rumble of thunder. We had that in Nashville last night. Tennessee is a state where you're probably wondering, why is everybody complaining about the lack of winter? We've had a great winter. Some people would say we've had a really bad winter, depending on your view of winter weather, because Nashville's almost had 10 inches of snow this year. Memphis has had a good winter. Just about Knoxville has had a really good winter. So you're probably wondering, why are y'all whining so much? But Tennessee is an anomaly state when it comes to winter weather. You guys have got very lucky. Winter weather, the winter in general has just been where the rich has just gotten richer and this kind of setup. So I heard Nashville had thunder snow last night. It looked like y'all picked up at least an inch or so. It probably melted very quickly. It's kind of one of those setups where in a dynamic system, it's typically snowing at pretty warm temperatures. So as soon as it stops snowing, the snow starts melting. But not expecting any severe weather today. The excessive rainfall outlook, the chances for flooding are below 5%. So we don't have to worry about this today. Watches, warnings, and advisories. Winter storm warnings are up in the pink. They've been dropped in Boston. I still think Boston could get a few to maybe several inches of snow. Wind advisories. Man, the winds are howling across the Carolinas this morning. North Georgia, the winds are going pretty hard up here in the higher elevations, the high country of North Carolina. Very breezy conditions, but I think the winds will diminish very quickly later on this morning to this afternoon. We do have winter weather advisories up for several counties in South Dakota. Montana, winter storm watches up for the the north central Rockies area right into here, kind of the Yellowstone National Park and the Rockies up here into Montana and to Idaho, where we're going to just have kind of waves of, like I said, northern stream energy that sort of flies down. Higher elevations of Oregon, Washington State, even northern California is going to get some snow with a Pacific storm that's going to move in. So outside of that, it's relatively quiet, especially in the middle of the country. So you guys will have to let me know what you saw last night in Tennessee. Let me know your totals. I am a little jealous, not going to lie, in a healthy way. It's a healthy jealous. Kentucky especially. Kentucky's a state I'm not hearing much about this morning. I want to give a shout out to Chris Hadley from Columbia, Kentucky. Let me know what you saw out there. He hit me up on Facebook last night, and I appreciate your support, man. You guys will have to let me know what you saw in like Eastern Kentucky, Central Kentucky. I'm just not hearing a whole lot from that area. Maybe it just didn't materialize, but certainly let me know. Not just Kentucky, but all the states, West Virginia, the Southern Alps region. But listen, today's going to be pretty quiet in the southeast. This system will head on off. It'll be windy. Cooler, drier air is moving in. It's going to set up for a pretty chilly February night. But, you know, today it's going to dry out very fast because drier air is moving in. It's going to be breezy. It's going to help to dry out everything very quickly. We get into this evening, into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, you could get some snow shower activity in northern Kentucky into the Ohio Valley. We'll kind of zoom into this area a little bit more here in a second. But today, weather-wise, high pressure dominating, breezy conditions, and not a whole lot going on. All right, let's talk about the Northeast. So this is ongoing right now. We'll kind of show you a simulation of what the radar can look like today, but this is starting off like right now. And the snow will continue. This is getting to about mid-morning, about 10 a.m. How far north will the snow get? I think it'll get further north than the HRRR model showing. It typically does. Usually precipitation always just gets further north than what all models show, just a little bit. So one thing we'll watch for a little bit later today, well, I wouldn't say later today, here in the next hour or two, maybe right now, is you're going to switch to a period of snow in D.C., Baltimore. And then you're going to switch to snow in Philadelphia if you haven't already. And it's going to snow pretty good for a few hours. Could be 1 inch per hour rates. Long Island, you're going to get hit hard. And then as we get into about midday, the snow's really going to pick up. The winds are going to pick up here in Southeast Mass, Cape Cod, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard is really going to be rocking out here. Brief blizzard conditions. But man, look at this cutoff. I mean, it's going to go from snowing like crazy to nothing in like an hour. And then this pulls on through. And one thing we will watch as this northern stream energy will fly through a little bit of colder air. It could be lake enhanced off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. In these areas that we're originally expecting snow, could kind of make up for not getting much with this energy. You could get some burst of heavy snow that kind of moves in out of southern Ontario into northern sections of PA, New York State later this evening. So you're going to get some kind of burst of snow later on this evening for sure. And even as this main system pulls on out, guys, you're going to get some snow showers, snow flurries sort of whipping around southern New England. Could make some kind of like festive flakes later on this evening once the main storm pulls out. But I'm telling you, these little bursts of snow are going to be quite heavy. Could dump a few to several inches of snow up here in areas of New York State. And then these will kind of drift into Vermont and New Hampshire into the wee hours of the morning. And you could wake up to some snow showers again for like Boston tomorrow morning for sure. And there's those snow showers, I think, that are possible in Indiana, getting into southern Ohio later this morning. There's just a lot of energy in the atmosphere, but there's not enough to really pump out a substantial storm system. But there is a lot of energy that's going to reflect to the surface in the form of some sort of precipitation. In this case, there's enough cold air for some snow showers that could provide a dusting here in Indiana and Ohio. And of course, it's going to start further west in Illinois. And then this could drift into West Virginia tomorrow. So a closer look at this, the evolution of this, right? Let's take a look at what's going on the radar. So let's see. This is new. It's snowing just outside of D.C. right now. But by the time some of you watch this, it'll be snowing in D.C. already. But if you notice, this is only a 1 to 2 hour window of precipitation. There's the back side of it. There's the beginning of it. So this is going to swing through, swing out. Looks like it's snowing just north of the Bel Air region. It's snowing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, snowing in Harrisburg. It looks like it's snowing in Philadelphia now. Some areas are mixing. And of course, up here in New York, it is definitely snowing. Just kind of taking a look at some of these radars right in here. Mount Holly. There it is. I mean, it's snowing pretty good. It's probably snowing pretty hard in New York City right now. Can't wait to look at my phone and see some of the video in this area. And then up here for my friends in southern New England, this is a tough area. But look, I mean, the precipitation is moving in. Looks like you're struggling to kind of switch to snow in Boston, but once you do, you should get a window of some pretty heavy snow. It's just not going to last very long. Looks like you're mixing with rain and snow. The longer you mix, the less your snow is going to be. So, if you're pulling for some heavy snow into Boston, you need to stop mixing and switch to heavy snow. But, you are getting that period. And if you kind of look at the reflectivity here, where it is snowing, guys, I mean, it's snowing hard. And, you could get 2-3 inches of snow in 1 hour. And if you get 3 hours of that, you could all of a sudden get 4 to 6 inches of snow when maybe your forecast is dropped to like 1 to 2. So there's going to be some overachievers here depending on the snowfall rates. But the latest HRRR model brings this in here, says the heaviest snow in Boston is going to be about mid to late morning. This is about midday. This is about lunchtime. Look at those darker blues. It's still snowing like crazy out on Long Island. By the time you get into about midday, you're not dealing with any kind of mixing issues. You're going to get that few hour period of very heavy snow for Southeast Mass, Rhode Island, areas of Connecticut, all the way up to Boston. How far north will this get? It's a big question. But, by the time you're getting into this afternoon, I think by the time before the sun even sets, the snow's done in Boston. And then it's snowing like crazy out on Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, all these folks out here. And then there's those lingering kind of snow showers drifting around. So snowfall from this between now and tomorrow morning, there it is. And this is the entire duration of the event. This is an addition. I don't think this is an additional snowfall total. This is between now and the entirety of the event. And here it is, expecting 6 to 8 inches of snow around the New York City area. And you kind of zoom in to like Philadelphia, widespread 4 to 6 inches of snow expected. Some of these areas have already picked up 6-7 inches of snow, especially up here in northern New Jersey. I'm seeing some reports. New York City region and Long Island, going for around 6 inches of snow in general. And then you go up into just, let's see if we can go up to Boston. Go up to Boston and, they're only going for a couple inches of snow. That could change fast. But yes, this storm has really went downhill fast as far as if you're a winter weather fan. The blend of all models, I want to show the evolution of these snow showers tonight. As you can tell, as you move into later this evening to the overnight hours, you're going to get some snowfall accumulations throughout New York State. It just depends on where these snow showers kind of move over, but you're going to get scattered areas throughout the southern tier, the Finger Lakes region, the Tuck Hill Plateau, the Adirondacks, even central areas of, almost said Pennsylvania, but New York State. Anywhere from a dusting to 2 inches of snow. And if you look at the National Weather Service forecast for this area, it's being very glitchy. I wanted to show this, but man, it just looks very weird. But this is between now and let's just take it on the way out to Thursday morning. They're going for more so like a few inches of snow. So the National Weather Service going for more snow in just certain areas. Like, Syracuse, Rochester could get a couple inches of snow from this setup. So the South Central U.S., there's not really anything to speak on. We get into this afternoon, calm conditions this evening. Any snow that fell in Texas, Oklahoma. If it ain't melted already, it's definitely going to melt today as temperatures will rise well into the 50s and 60s. But the weather today will be very, very calm. North Central U.S., just, I wouldn't say busy times ahead, but you're going to have multiple pieces of energy that sort of flies in. We get into this morning and, into this afternoon. Some snow showers will drift through Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and maybe provide a dusting on elevated surfaces. Not a big deal, but if these snow showers can be heavy and kind of go through some of the same areas, and of course it might put some accumulations down, more substantial, maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow. But, as we get into this evening, here's a very weak system that's going to be further north at first. And this could bring some snow showers into areas of Minnesota later this evening. Could get some snow showers around the Minneapolis area all the way up to International Falls, pretty much the entire state of Minnesota. Could get some snow showers. And then later on tonight, there's that weak energy kind of showing up here, kind of starts in Iowa, moves into Illinois. You guys could get a thin area of snow and sort of, I think it'll be south of Chicago, sort of north central areas of Illinois. Don't be surprised if you go to sleep, depending on where you are, what town and city you're in this area. Don't be surprised you go to sleep with nothing on the ground. All of a sudden you wake up with an inch of snow on the ground. This kind of drifts around the Indianapolis area, just north, and kind of brings some snow showers into the region as we're waking up tomorrow morning. And there it is, kind of moving into northern Kentucky, southern Ohio. And then there's another system on the heels of this. This will bring the potential for a few to maybe several inches of snow for South Dakota. And this is getting into our Wednesday. And here's this system. It's a little bit further south. But this could be some heavy snow in this. Snowing pretty good. And in eastern sections of South Dakota, you got an axis of snow moving in tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening into the southern half of Minnesota. Minneapolis could get maybe a little bit of snow from this. And this continues into tomorrow evening. And this turns into a pretty, a decent northern stream energy low right here. You got a 10, 11 millibar low. It's weaker, but it's just kind of cut off in the northern stream. So it's a pretty strong little fella right here for sure. But we're getting into the overnight hours tomorrow night. We got a system moving into the Midwest, and we'll kind of stop it right here, and we'll kind of get you some updated information in the coming videos. But the snow could be pretty heavy just north of this low where you are cold enough to see snow. Snow flying around up here in Wisconsin. We'll see what happens as this starts to get into like Chicago, Milwaukee, as we're getting into our Thursday morning. But we have to watch this. We'll get a couple of these little systems. This one will eventually go into the Northeast also. But between now and Thursday morning, there's that stripe of snow from that system. So, anywhere from 2 to 5 inches of snow going right through the heart of South Dakota. But there'll be a tight gradient on the north and south side of this where you won't get much at all. But right through this section of South Dakota, a few inches of snow expected. And then we go to the north central U.S. right into here. Minneapolis could get an inch of snow from this. You guys have had a pretty pathetic winter. So maybe you'll add an inch of snow to your very kind of low end tally that you already got this winter. And then we kind of go all the way through. Let's just take it all the way through about the middle of the night, Thursday night. And, hey, it's showing the southern sections of Wisconsin to get a few inches of snow from this piece of energy that kind of eventually moves in. Chicago don't get much. There's that little bit of snow you could get tonight in areas of Illinois and Indiana. Somebody might squeeze in a half an inch to an inch of snow. And then you could get kind of a low-end medium event across areas of lower Michigan where you could get 2 to as much as 5 inches of snow from this as we're getting more into our Thursday for this system for sure. So we'll talk more on that here in the coming video. Out west, it's not that active this morning. A little bit of snow flying through Montana, northern Rockies. We're getting to this afternoon. Snow will continue. Could be heavy depending on your location. Then as we get into kind of after midnight tonight, a Pacific storm moves in, provides some lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow. This rain could be pretty heavy, some gusty winds. And then we get all the way until about midday tomorrow. Higher elevations, the Cascades getting some pretty heavy snow depending on your elevation, and lower elevation rain. And this continues. We get all the way into the middle of the night tomorrow night. And this is a pretty hefty storm system. The Sierra Nevada section of it, the northern sections of Sierra Nevada, getting some heavy snow from this. Idaho, some snow. The northern Rockies, snow, light to moderate snow beginning to move into western Montana as we are getting into tomorrow night. And just a surge of moisture kind of moving into Oregon as we start to get into our Thursday morning. But we'll watch this system. This system could do something interesting, and we'll kind of show you an extension of this here in a second as we are moving into the later portion of this week. But this is snowfall between now and tomorrow evening. Several inches of snow in the higher terrain of Montana. Definitely stay tuned to your local people. Yellowstone National Park, several inches of snow depending on elevation. A little bit of snow here in the southern ranges of Wyoming and Montana. But nothing too crazy out here by any means. Precipitation from this storm that's going to move in tonight. Some of these areas could get an inch of rain, 2 inches of rain. But if you look at snow from this, certainly the Cascades, Sierra Nevada will get several inches of snow. Someone could squeeze in maybe a foot and a half of snow depending on your elevation. Temperatures. This is a pretty warm snowstorm up here today that's ongoing right now in the Northeast. You're still above average temperature-wise for the most part. But temperatures in the 20s and 30s for highs. Southeast, very breezy conditions. A chilly day, 40s and 50s for highs. You got to get all the way to the southern tip of Florida before you start to squeeze in the 70s and 80s. Middle of the country, very warm, much warmer than average. Certainly no cold air to be found. And then the western U.S. In general, much above average temperature-wise out here for sure. So moving forward, we'll start this off Thursday morning. All right, there's that system that's probably going to drop some accumulating snow across the Great Lakes region. Could become heavy. You notice this low kind of deepens into almost a 1,000 millibar low. This could bring several inches of snow to southern Ontario. We have to watch Michigan too, more so lower Michigan, because this system could certainly overachieve a little bit. And then this moves into the Northeast. We'll have to watch this system for the Northeast. This could bring a few, maybe a several inch snowfall event. We got a 990 millibar low flying over the Northeast. It's a pretty aggressive, almost clipper-like system from the northern stream. And this moves in, could drop accumulating snow across the Northeast as we are getting into Thursday night into Friday morning. And then we got another system. As cold air is kind of coming down, it's a little bit further south. And here comes the snow breaking out across the northern plains as we're getting to Thursday evening. This one's starting to head on off. We'll kind of watch it. And then we start to get into the middle of the country, some light snow flying around out here in the middle of the country. I would say more so Nebraska, Kansas, getting into Iowa Friday morning. And then it starts to get a little bit further south, and all of a sudden we're seeing some snow in Missouri. Okay, as we're getting into Friday afternoon. Okay, this area already got a little bit of snow a couple days ago. Well, yesterday. All right, and then this moves in. Look at this snow. Let's go and just get a little bit closer to it. Hopefully it doesn't switch to it. Yep, it did. I should have known. But there we go. Latest European brings some snow. And it's not a forecast yet. Bring some snow into southern Illinois, some snow into Kentucky, even northern Tennessee. The rich get richer. Rich get richer. Friday nights, some snow flying around Kentucky based off the Euro. And then we get a light snow event across the southern Appalachian Mountains. So I have to watch this and see how this unfolds for sure. You got even a band of moderate snow flying around in areas of Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, and this continues. And what can this do for the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic? Well, it doesn't show a whole lot of anything. This does bring some snow for our friends here in Virginia that haven't really seen much, if this is the way it happens. But Saturday morning, this is getting closer, guys. This has always been that time frame that we've watched for like over 10 days now. And there's some weird things going on. There's some cold air moving in. And then we got to watch this moisture just kind of chilling in the Gulf of Mexico. I want to watch this. We're getting into Saturday afternoon. There's cold air around, moisture down here. Can we get this to move north, or is the high pressure going to suppress it? It never does on the Euro. It never comes in. And then it brings another system in, and then we don't know what's going to happen after that. GFS, what does it do? Same kind of situation. GFS is much more aggressive with this clipper. For later this work week, Thursday night into Friday morning for the Northeast. We'll have to watch that. Could get a quick, few inch to several inches of snow. And then the GFS is much more aggressive also with this system that kind of shoots across the plains. Here it comes, heavy snow into Friday morning across the north central U.S. and just the high plains, and it's further north though. Okay, this doesn't bring snow Friday afternoon down to Missouri, southern Missouri. This brings a pretty hefty snowstorm in areas of Iowa. Brings it into Chicago. Okay? And let's just go on and kind of zoom into this. Look at this. Brings it into Chicago. Several inches of snow. And then a 998 millibar low hits southern Ontario. Brings some snow into Detroit. Friday night and a Saturday morning. And then this turns into another snow event for the Northeast as we're getting into a Friday morning. So that's two outside the one that we're seeing right now. So, there's some changes that, are going to happen. And there's not agreement here with these kind of northern stream energy. And then you see that 540 line kind of diving down. Man, cold air is trying to catch up with this moisture for dear life here. Big surge of Gulf moisture riding in. You're thinking if this cold air was in place already, we could look out in the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. But man, this, the GFS likes the idea of a hefty snow event from the Northeast. Not a huge event. But here comes the moisture, low pressure right here, Saturday afternoon. And you remember Saturday afternoon on the European, this is what it shows. Nothing. No rain Saturday afternoon on the Euro. The GFS shows rain. So what's going to happen with this? It's a big question. What's interesting to me is watch what happens as you get to the later portion of this coming weekend. You try to get, well, it doesn't show it on this. Well, let's see. Let's see right here. I think it was last night's run. You try to get another low pressure to kind of bumped up, but in general, I think I'm getting confused with another run. But anyways, the moisture's riding up. You're trying to get cold air catching up with this, but you just can't get it to catch up. It's just your classic cold air chasing moisture kind of events. And I hadn't even looked at the Canadian from last night at all. But, you know, what was the Canadian show? The Canadian does show some moisture flying through. Shows the same thing as the Euro, some snow flying for northern sections of Tennessee, Kentucky. And then it shows this precipitation that sort of bubbles up here, tries to flirt with some cold air, but it never really does. So we can see the storm signal off the European ensemble from this. There's the one later this week. Drops a few inches of snow in the Great Lakes region, southern Ontario, and then in the Northeast. There's that signal for snow right into here. Few inches of snow as we get into Friday, and then here comes our next storm system. A little bit further south with it, there's a little signal for some snow into the weekend as far south as Tennessee, even a little signal into North Carolina, the mid-Atlantic. We'll have to watch that also. What about the GFS with this storm signal? Let's back it up here. GFS, we get into Friday. There it is for the Northeast. Here comes the next one, much further north. Do you notice this is the GFS ensemble? Look, this shows a pretty nice event across the Midwest, Great Lakes region, into the Northeast. Okay, what about the one behind it? There's barely any signal at all. There's big differences here. Shows a signal in the North Carolina, but this is really skewed by just one or two members. So we'll watch this in general between now and Friday morning. A swath of snow right here expected. After that, there's no point in showing anything because there's still a lot of question marks. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a fantastic Tuesday.